you highlighted the word agreement. When two or more are gathered in my name, you come together in an agreement in his name through words or actions. There I am in the midst. That's why this podcast is reaching and will continue to reach so many people, singles, couples, widowers, divorcees, whomever, because he is here in the midst. Agreement is key. Not only are we in agreement with God, but we're in agreement with one another. Therefore, our power is ignited in that agreement. That's why we can speak so boldly and so confidently about the things of God, because he's here.
One love, one heart, one space. Loyalty, one thing we can't replace.
Welcome back to the second season of Atkins Ever After. We're so excited to have you back. Seems like it's been a long time since we've talked to everyone. We have a huge season prepared. We're actually looking for your input on things to cover this season. What do you think, baby?
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm excited to be back recording for you guys, spending more time sharing our relationship experiences with them. Like you said, baby, it's going to be a great season. Season 2. We thank you so much for all of the support for season 1. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, we got Patreon now, right?
We have Patreon, so our Patreon family is going to get the uncut, unedited version of this, and they'll also get an early release. So for the ones of you who are not a part of our Patreon family, you guys are seeing this on Thursday. Patreon family actually saw this yesterday on Wednesday. So they get a couple of more benefits. So all you have to do is look at the description of this video. We're going to include, we have the link included for our Patreon. There are different levels of membership depending on what type of exclusivity you want. But go in there, click on the link, and then follow the appropriate steps to join the family. It's that easy. And we're offering a lot of things in our packages. So it just depends on how up close and personal you want to get to us, including attending our wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. If you come, you want to see that wedding. It's going to be spectacular.
Yes, a movie, okay? A movie. Because that's the only way we do things. So.
That's right. So, what we covering now? What we covering today?
Well, you know, we have to get into our first segment, the appreciation post.
Look, y'all, it's been that long. I forgot about the appreciation post.
Alright, so the first segment, we are keeping our first segment in from last season because we thought it was fantastic. You guys really enjoyed it. A lot of you said that you started implementing that into your relationship. So it is the appreciation post.
Yes.
And guess what else, you guys? So if you notice, we did not do a formal intro. You guys know who we are. We don't have to do that. But for the ones of you who don't know who we are, this is my soon-to-be husband, Mike, and I am...
Baby.
But what's new, though? What's new about that?
What's new about baby?
Yeah. What's new about my name?
I mean, baby?
Can you not call me my name?
No, I can't.
Yes, you can. You don't have to call me baby.
Oh, okay.
Remember, we talked about it.
Okay.
So, he can call me Keisha. It's fine. Alright. You ready?
Yeah.
Get to the appreciation?
Yeah, let's go.
You want me to start it off or you want to start?
Sure, you can start.
Let's see. What do I appreciate about you? We said so much last season. So, baby, what I appreciate about you is your spiritual covering for me and the kids. What I mean by that is you are always in prayer for us and about us. You are always speaking the word of God in different situations. When we're having discussions, you're bringing it back to, okay, what does God say, right? If I mention that I'm having an issue with something or I'm struggling about something, if we're not together, you will send me a prayer, or you'll text me something. So I appreciate that. I feel safe knowing that you understand the importance of going to God for all things. So your spiritual covering, your spiritual awareness, I appreciate very much.
Awesome. I appreciate that you appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So
Next.
it's one. What about we do two?
We can do one.
Okay.
Sorry.
So my appreciation. I mean, we said a lot. So it's be kind of hard sometimes saying these appreciation posts.
Yeah.
But guess I appreciate that you appreciate me. So I appreciate that you appreciate me because a lot of times, people don't or aren't appreciated or they aren't, I guess, I don't know the word, but noticed or spoken of about the things that they do for each other.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. All right. You want to jump into the topic?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we're talking about intimacy, and people have issues with intimacy. There's different types of intimacy. What is intimacy to you? Drop it in the comments so we can know what you think intimacy is. But, what is intimacy?
Yeah, before we get into that definition, this is actually the first episode of a 4-part series on intimacy. So we're going to be taking some time to really dive deep into what it is, the different types of it, and there are a couple other factors involved in intimacy that we want to highlight as well. We definitely think that there is a lack of intimacy. Of course, we're not speaking of our relationships, right? But there is a high level of intimacy missing in a lot of relationships, and we think if you get back to that, it'll grow you closer, it'll strengthen your bond, communication can become better out of it, and you can actually enjoy a friendship side of your relationship or your marriage as well. But intimacy basically is just the feeling of being close to your partner and feeling emotionally supported. We all want to feel like we matter. Like you just mentioned in your appreciation post, you appreciate the value that I see in you, right? Or that I speak about. We always want to be noticed and heard and feel like we matter, especially to our significant other, because that's the person who we share the most closest thoughts with, our fears, our successes, and we should be uncut as well, meaning genuine, right? Open. But in order for us to do that, we have to feel safe. And again, that's where intimacy can play a role. So, baby, do we want to get into the different types of intimacy, or would you like to speak on what intimacy means to you?
So what intimacy means to me is, it's like what you said. It's the connection that you have with someone. It's being able to say things that you feel and you don't feel like you're going to be judged. It's about being able to connect with each other spiritually, emotionally, sexually, without judgment, period. And you gotta be able to communicate in whether or not it's comfortable for the other person to hear or not. And even if you feel like it's gonna cause an issue, you should be able to communicate. Now, it's two-sided. So, I don't feel like you can have intimacy if one side is participating and the other one isn't.
Right. Yeah. Completely agree.
And that's that's all around.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So let's get into the different types. So you mentioned emotional intimacy, right? And it is feeling safe to share your thoughts and your feelings with your partner, your mate. And some of the ways in which a person or a couple can achieve emotional intimacy is by asking thoughtful questions, right? Baby, how was your day today? Things like that. Or if you ran into a situation throughout the day, you feeling comfortable enough to share that with me, and me actually listening to you to see, what is it that I can do to support you through that situation, right? It's also, like I said, listening to understand rather than to respond, or even listening to understand and not ignoring it, Like if you tell me about a situation that you encountered and then I don't respond to it, but I say, oh baby, guess what? I got a question for you. Or, I jump into another topic. That's not allowing you emotional security, right? To feel comfortable enough in the future to open up about things. And then another example is being able to establish an environment to have open and honest dialogue. Making sure that you are mindful of how you react to certain things, right? That you're mindful of your responses to certain things, meaning don't respond in a way that is going to make your partner feel like they're being judged, right? Because if a person feels judged, I know, let me speak for me. If I feel judged, I'm just going to shut down and you won't get anything else from me. Patreon, you guys will hear our birds. That's what you hear in the background now, so you heard them.
Yeah, I hear them all the time.
Yeah, so you'll hear the birds, it's fine.
Put them out.
But no, they don't have to be put out. But go ahead and share. You can share from your standpoint about the emotional piece.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like if you have an issue, you should definitely be able to say how you feel about it, and if you would desire a response, you should be able to get a response.
So, an example in our real life relationship of emotional intimacy is the support I've gotten from dealing with grief trauma, because it can show up at any time. And so feeling safe enough to, show the emotions behind that, feeling safe enough to share my feelings and my thoughts around that is one way that I've experienced emotional intimacy.
So my experience with emotional intimacy is that, I definitely have been supported with things I've had happen in the past, traumatic. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job with that. We had to work towards it. It's all about trust, for sure. It's all about gaining and maintaining mutual respect. So once you reach that level, then you can showcase it, I feel like, with no problem. So do you want to cover the second type of intimacy?
So intellectual, having the freedom to think for ourselves and believe our opinions are valued, and have discussions where there are different perspectives.
So for me, I've never been the kind of person to try to force my opinion on another person. I am definitely capable of agreeing to disagree, and that looks like me not feeling any kind of way about the disagreement, not holding a grudge, not being angry about it. I can simply walk away and move on to the next thing. So, I definitely know that we're two different people and we share difference of opinions in certain things due to our life experiences that we've encountered thus far. We're on two different life paths. We had, different experiences. And so they both shape how we think and feel about certain things. So I'm comfortable enough to state my opinion and stand in it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, because, you definitely have taught me, how to reach that point, because, I definitely in the past have battled with, someone not seeing it my way.
Yeah.
Especially when I feel like I'm right?
Yeah.
So, I had to learn how to accept somebody else's opinion fully to where we agree to disagree.
And it can also, lead to a more open mindset if you're willing to take in the other person's perspective too. It might open you up to seeing something in a different way. Not that the person is necessarily trying to change your opinion, but it could just naturally happen. Also, I think another point of this too is it does not have to lead, a difference of opinion does not have to lead to an argument. It shouldn't lead to an argument. We're two different people, like I said, two different life experiences. And so you're going to naturally have different opinions in a lot of things. So, oftentimes people don't know how to agree to disagree. It does lead to an argument, like you pointed out, especially if one person is really trying to force their opinion on the other person. And it could lead to passive-aggressive communication. It could lead to aggressive communication, silent treatment, like all sort of toxic things can come out of that. So, I think that if you really take into consideration, like I said, that the person is speaking from their own experiences that they've had, their personalized journey, then, hopefully your partner can be more open to accepting how you feel about certain things.
That's correct. Like you said, you be in relationships, but everybody has their separate life paths.
Yeah.
And those life paths, they don't just start when you get with somebody. They've been there. So whatever happened previous that you have been that person, say for instance, my situation, trying to get, if you've dealt with people in the past that you, they just say you knew they were dishonest, and then, you have that same forcefulness to have someone agree with what you're saying, then you can carry that on into another relationship.
Yeah. And I think new relationships too can be like a mirror up to your face, especially if that new person is completely different from the previous person that you've encountered. It can showcase some areas in which growth needs to happen. And hopefully that partner or both partners, may be experiencing it and take that on as, okay, let me use it to become a better person. Let me use it to try to become the best partner I can for this person. And again, when we speak to that, we're talking about if you're in a relationship where it has a future, it's leading to marriage, it's leading to you guys, combining your lives. It is work to be able to achieve any of these levels of intimacy. But me personally, if it's just a casual type of situation, I'm not going to be willing to put in this kind of work. It has to be where I know that there's a future with it. But yeah, for intellectual, I think that we both now do a very good job of just stating an opinion as a part of a conversation and just leaving it there. We agree to a lot of things, but there's still things that we disagree on, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's right. It's like you said, I totally agree with, when you're in a relationship that's moving towards marriage, right?
Yeah.
Versus just casual, relationship, you tend to have more aptitude or more energy into making sure that both sides are comfortable and understand each other, and agreement is not a battle.
Yeah. Yeah, and the foundational pieces is, in my opinion, is what's very important to agree on, right? Like, if you are, just say if you're a newly engaged couple and you don't have any children together, how many children you might want to have? When do you want to start trying to have children? Those are kind of foundational things, religious beliefs, things like that, right? Those are foundational things. But if we're just speaking about a situation maybe that I encountered and I shared that how I responded to it, and you're like, no, I would have responded this way. It's completely fine to disagree to that kind of scenario, right? Because again, we're different people and we're going to respond and react in different ways. So
yeah, I believe that, emotion, like, the past thing we talked about in other episodes, like emotional intelligence plays a huge role in intimacy, in different types of intimacy.
Yeah.
In reaching those, reaching the goals in intimacy.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, communication.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you guys, if you have not checked out those 2 episodes from season 1, make sure you go back and do so. Those were some great episodes. We had a lot of great feedback about it opening up conversations, like I said, for other people. So check those 2 out, and then come back and watch the rest of our episodes for season 2. So the next form of intimacy is experiential. And you're like, what is that? It's basically about sharing experiences with one another, right? So if it's a first, let's say there's a city that neither of you have gone to and you choose to travel to that city. That's the first time experience for the both of you. You're exploring something together, right? And so what that creates can be definitely private memories and inside jokes, in which you can go back and recount and have a lightheartedness to your conversation or your relationship. So, plan activities that neither of you have done before. It doesn't have to be taking a trip. It can be something local to where you are. Neither one of you have ever had a picnic in the park. right? If neither one of you have ever walked a trail together, these are things locally that you can do. If you want to move past locally, choosing a city, like I said, or even a country that neither of you have ever visited before. Now, I know we're in COVID, whatever variant we're in at this point. So, travels might not be as, fun or able to be done right now, but definitely when that time comes, think about doing that, traveling to somewhere new.
Yeah, we definitely talked about going to the gun range this weekend.
Yeah.
And things like that can definitely provide new experiences.
Yeah.
And, inside jokes are always great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2021, we had so many shared experiences.
Yes.
We did a lot of traveling. Hey, yeah, you guys know that though because you watch our YouTube channel. You're watching it now. But we did a lot of traveling. We did a lot of first time things together. So we definitely increased the experiential intimacy part of our relationship last year.
Yeah, it was terrific. Definitely experienced a lot of first time experiences, especially just being a family. That's something major that I always wanted. So definitely did a lot of different things. Recording and taking pictures. Creating
so
memories.
many pictures.
Oh,
so many pictures.
Yeah.
Like this in itself, podcasting was a new experience for the both of us. We had never had a podcast before. And even being with you guys here on YouTube, like this is a new experience as well, but we're embarking on it together. So
yeah, we've had some experiences with the podcast, and we've been talking about, we've been in the process of doing the podcast, and we've been on subjects, and we've had to pause and have discussions, like real discussions about the topic that we're covering. So, we learning at the same time, providing this information, and we just we're working together. I really feel like this podcast brings us closer together, and it's just excellent.
Yeah, I agree. And again, join our Patreon, and you guys can see these uncut, unedited versions. You can see these side conversations that we have. The conversations where we have to pause in, recording. So join Patreon. But yeah, we, it does bring us closer together because it's bringing things more in the forefront because we're becoming so used to sharing a lot more of ourselves. And so as we're sharing with them, it does bring up different things for us, and then we do have to converse about it. But hopefully it's bringing you guys closer together too, as a couple. That's the whole purpose of our podcast, is to share relationship positivity through genuineness and through authenticity, being transparent. So, so that that whatever you're experiencing, you're not the only one. There are other couples out there. We're out here who are sharing the same experiences. We are having the same human experience, but you don't have to go through it alone, And last season, I said a lot of times that I'm not the kind of person who has to experience something to get the lesson from it. I can look at what you're doing. I can look at you, whomever, right? And learn the experience. So hopefully you guys are taking our relationship and what we're sharing with you all to make your relationship even better.
Yes.
So, all right. So you want to talk about the last type for today, for this episode, the last type of intimacy?
Yeah, I don't know if this is probably the most important, which is spiritual. And it's, sharing poignant moments where you and your partner pray and worship together. You can do that anytime. A lot of people don't think of praying before you go on a date night, or praying before you go anywhere, because the thing is, especially doing what we're doing, right? Like we're serving our purpose, God's purpose, which is to encourage and help people the way that we can. And the enemy doesn't like that. So, we must cover ourselves while doing this. And that's a part of a spiritual intimacy. It's understanding that, there's forces that don't like what we putting out. You know, and because this isn't the only thing that we're doing. You have your own podcast with you and Trish, and I have Instagram where I speak positive moments, speak about the Bible and different points in the Bible, and the enemy does not like that. So he's gonna throw people, he's gonna throw things in there, he's gonna come at you in different ways. He's gonna send messages to you. He's gonna do all kind of things, but you gotta realize that what you're doing cannot be stopped. No weapon formed against you shall prosper if you really know what your purpose is. And I know we know our purpose. So I try to identify when I see the enemy working. We do that.
Yeah.
And we pray. We are proactive. As far as praying.
Yeah.
Because it's serious.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, like you said, one of the most important parts. Being spiritually bonded is key to anything else, because you're going to reflect back on what does God say about this? How does He say we should handle this, right? And I feel like it's also going to put some type of limits, so to speak, on what you will do and what you won't do, what you will say to your partner, what you won't say to your partner, because you want to move out of love, which is who God is. God is love. And so when you're embodying Him, then you're moving in a form of godliness, right? And so that does look like, making sure that you pray together, taking that lead to do that, and being able to just converse about God and all things about God. God is always the center or a topic of discussion for us every time we converse about something, whether it's in person, text, over the phone, whatever. We're always speaking about that. We're always asking each other questions about, what's your insight on this? What does this scripture mean to you? What is it saying to you, type of thing, And as he mentioned, he has daily positive car chronicles on his Instagram page. His Instagram name is in the description of this video, so make sure you go and follow him on there, so that you can see those positive messages every day. They're really quick messages, but they're very powerful with what they say, and it can definitely give you the pick-me-up that you might need in that moment or during that day. So yes, to your point, the enemy is out here to attack, but we must recognize him, and the only way that we can do that is to stay connected to God. He's not going to ever let anything come to us to blindside us, nor is he ever going to let anything cause harm to us. So he does have that protection over us of things, any type of ailments, any type of anything that's trying to come against us that we can see or that we can't see. He sees everything. So we don't have to. All we have to do is trust in him, right? And so as you can tell, you guys, the spiritual intimacy part is definitely something that's key and very much highlighted in our relationship. And it will be ongoing through our marriage as well. It shows up in how we raise our children. It shows up in how we interact with you guys and people that we also encounter in person as well. So
right, that's right. Intimacy, is huge, because you have intimacy with God, right? You don't only have intimacy with your partner or with your family, or intimacy is not the word. You gotta separate it. It's really being close. That's what it means. It means being close, being so close that you feel intertwined. So you can feel when it's not being reciprocated, or you can feel when it's low. You can feel when it's high. So when you have intimacy with God, you know it because you become more aware, and you feel the things that are of him, and you feel the things that are not of him.
Absolutely. That we've definitely had experiences where we immediately knew, okay, this is not God, something is wrong here. Like, this is a spirit that does not mesh with us. So let us pray about it. Let us remove ourselves from it immediately. And that can be an environment, that can be a person, people, whatever. If it's not If we don't feel like it's of God, we have to remove ourselves from it because it can attach to us. And then what does that look like, right? We are the heads of our family. He is the head of our family. And so we have children that are looking at us in everything that we do. And we always want to be great godly examples, not worldly examples. We're not trying to show them, what the world says you should do. We do opposite because that's what God says we should do. And so we're always trying to be godly examples for our children, friends, family, and anyone else who is connected to us. We are on our podcast now, not proclaiming to be perfect, but being real about who we are and the things that we encounter in our relationship. And most importantly, what's important to our relationship, And so like you mentioned, I want to go back to something that you said. You mentioned intimacy within your family. Like, what does that look like? Because when people think about intimacy, they automatically think two things: sexual and with your partner.
Yeah.
Your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. But you mentioned family. So what does that look like? What can that look like to have family intimacy?
To have family is praying together. Is meeting with your children or your close family, whatever it is that you call family, making sure that y'all tight, that y'all are aligning with God's purpose, that you're speaking about God, that you're encouraging each other, you're pushing each other. And that brings up another thing is that you got, like, at the same time when you're intimate with your family, right? The intimacy is all like a connection. It's like a string with dots. And if there's a part of your family that's intimate with something that is not of God, it's gonna creep in and it's gonna get. It's like a bad fruit. You know how they say, like, one bad apple spoils the bunch, and it can happen. So you gotta identify it. You know what I'm saying? Like the ways you can identify. It just like change, like when you see something not being the same, but not just not being the same, but being different to the point of negativity. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, that's one way to identify it. But when you're intimate with something or somebody, you're gonna have a feeling of difference. Mm-hmm. You should have a feeling of difference, and with that, you just gotta work on it. You pray about it, and if you really care, then you're gonna do everything you can to make sure that the intimacy is huge. I'm just now realizing that we're talking about just how huge it is. Yeah. Like, intimacy is like huge because it's the closeness, it's the thing that attaches the way you truly feel to everything. Yeah. So, like, your deepest fears, your greatest wants, your most powerful desires. That's intimacy.
Yeah, because you're not going to share that with just anybody. Like, I think it's a beautiful thing to have a person or people in your life that you can be intimate with, that you feel comfortable enough, that you trust enough to be intimate with. There are people that don't have that person or those people. And so if you do have that, that is a blessing from God, honestly. I feel very blessed to be able to have him to share all of these different types of intimacy with. Like, I am very transparent. There are no walls up whatsoever. I'm vulnerable when I need to be. I'm open when I need to be. I'm very authentic. And so I can share any of these, like I said, any of these types of intimacy with him. And I do on a daily basis. But back to family. So from an intellectual standpoint of family intimacy, what does that look like?
That's a great question. I would say, as far as family, I would say read, like, maybe discovering the Bible together, like playing games together. That's something that I just learned to do with us blending our families, because I played games when I was younger, but not to the level that I have experienced with different games. These games that promote teamwork and positivity. Yeah. So playing games, going on trips And when we go on trips, it's not like, oh, we doing what we say, you know.
Right.
It's like, hey, what y'all want to do? So when you find out what the children or, you know, the family wants to do, you find out things about them.
Yeah.
Which you can in turn use to do things for them. Like once you find out, oh, you like this? Okay, man, you know what? I'll surprise them with this, you know,
right.
this gift, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and the thing that's huge for us because we have so many different ages in our family from adults to 8. So, you know, and then we have boys and girls in the mix too, and boys like different things than girls. So it's very important for us to not try to provide a cookie cutter approach and say, oh, we're all just doing this, because it may be inappropriate for the 8-year-old, right?
Yes.
Or the teenagers might not be interested, think it's too kiddish. So,
yeah.
you know, we have to figure it out.
It'd be some experiences for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So from the emotional standpoint of family, how can we promote emotional intimacy within our family?
Once again, like, you know, it's part of sharing new adventures, you know, and I feel like that goes in with going on vacations and, you know, doing things that as a family, you know, each person likes, you know, and then you see why they like it. And, you know, when it comes time to share gifts or just, you know what, let me surprise them, you know, with this. You understand what they like. And then at the same time too, it teaches you what not to do. Because what not to do is huge, you know.
Yeah.
You know what, hey, you know what, they don't like this. I didn't know they didn't like this, but let me make sure I don't do that.
Right.
Because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, or offend.
Or offend, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the ways that we show emotional or that we open up emotional intimacy in our family is the date nights that we have with the children. So, you guys, for the ones of you who are new to our channel, we are blending a family. We have 5 children total, and I brought 4 from my previous marriage into the relationship, and he brought 1. And so I brought girls into his life, 3 girls into his life, and so...
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what he's chosen to do is have date nights with the girls, and then I have date nights with the boys, and so that allows one-on-one time for them to feel comfortable enough to open up, right?
Yeah.
So then you establish that relationship, you with the other kid, and I say kid loosely because remember, 2 are full adults, but that opens up an opportunity for them to really share things with you without feeling like everybody else is listening, the other siblings are listening, or the other parent is listening. They have your one-on-one attention. They have your ear. They have your, you're in tune with that. And so that's definitely something that will continue this year, 2022, because you can never build too much. You can never be too close.
That's right.
I feel like.
You said it, one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
One-on-one, you know what I mean? But, it don't always have to be one-on-one. If it, you can take out 2, it just depends on the age and the interest, right?
Yeah.
But you definitely want to create opportunities, go out to eat, go do something that they like, bowling, gun range, talk to the girls about going to the gun range, which we definitely do one day.
Yeah.
But those are opportunities, and you just gotta stay conscious.
Yeah.
You gotta be conscious at all times to see the things about people and what they desire and what they like.
Yeah.
You really gotta protect your intimacy. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that you share things with, and it may not seem major to you that what you're sharing, but once people know it's like, don't tell the left hand what the right hand doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A lot of times, people, you don't always know people, like, you don't always know people's full intentions.
Yeah.
And so you'll tell them something, and they're like, oh, okay.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Do you feel like that is one reasons why people have a fear of intimacy?
Yeah, yeah. Going through that, if you done been through that, absolutely. Because you had to go through it or had to see somebody, I don't know, seeing somebody go through it, I don't think it's the same feeling as going
It's
through
not that level of intensity as when you actually experience it yourself. So, speaking about the fear of intimacy, it is harder, or it can be harder then for a person to open up. So let's talk about in relationship particularly, right? So let's just say you're in this relationship that you do see a future in. Maybe you've been together a few years. You both have had talks about being married, and you both know that you want to be married, right? But you keep running into these same issues. You keep running into these same problems that ultimately can lead back and have a root cause of fear of intimacy. And it could have a lot to do with what you just said. Maybe they had a situation where they fully trusted somebody and they shared something vulnerable, and then the person misused their trust, and now they're like, okay, I'm not trusting nobody else. I can't tell nobody else nothing. I don't care who you are in my life. I'm not sharing nothing else with you.
Definitely not been there myself.
And then that looks like a fear of opening up emotionally. That looks like a fear of not wanting to be vulnerable enough to experience new adventures with your person. That looks like a fear of not maybe want to open up spiritually to your person. No, I don't want to pray in front of you. Things like that. So, baby, let's explore the fears of intimacy, or let me say, the reasons a person could fear intimacy. Why do you think?
I think it's different reasons. But from studies, as we have researched, is plenty. You got fear of abandonment, fear of engulfment, which engulfment sounds like fire to me.
Yeah, like you're being,
lit, like set off. And which it says those who have fear of engulfment are afraid of being controlled, dominated, or losing themselves in the relationship. And this fear sometimes stems from growing up in enmeshed.
Yeah, enmeshed family. Yeah, so maybe they felt like their voice could be heard within their family. Maybe they were constantly overlooked. A lot of people who are the middle child have said that before.
Yeah.
They feel overlooked. Maybe their parents focus on the oldest or the youngest. But I can see how that would be a reason. People don't want to feel dominated and controlled. Why would you? Right? And so if you think that by you opening up and being vulnerable, sharing your emotions, sharing your opinions, that somebody is going to be like, no, you need to think this way. Or, no, your feelings are not valid. Like, that is also a form of control as well. Because now you're trying to tell me how to feel.
Facts.
You're trying to tell me how to think. You're trying to tell me what I should say. And then how are you going to feel safe in that kind of space?
Yeah,
You can't.
I definitely been that person. For sure.
Which person?
The person is like, hey, trying to push my narrative, how I felt onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely been there. Been there.
And so that
I've been a lot that I've had to come out of. It's just, it's the truth.
Yeah. So, it's, and that's what we're here to do, give out real life examples, right? Like, we're not sharing about anything that we reading per se. It's about giving out real life examples of it. Fear of abandonment. If I open up and tell you this, now will you leave me? And it could be like a traumatic experience, something that you still are ashamed of. That a person has gone through. When I say you, I mean that broadly. That a person has gone through, and you say, oh, if I open up and share this with this person, they might leave me, or they might look at me in a different way, right? And so it's fear attached to that, But again, like we've spoken about, in order to get to some of these things, there has to be different little activities done, trust building activities, right? To be able to build upon that so that you can get to that space.
Yeah, I was reading, I was researching the intimacy subject, and I seen where they have something called EFT. I think it's called emotional frequency techniques.
Okay.
But I don't really know what it is. I just saw that it involves some kind of acupuncture into diving into those post traumas, and because like not wanting to get so close to somebody, it always has something to do with your past.
Absolutely.
It has to.
Yeah, that's the root of everything is your childhood, how you were raised, what you were around during that period of time. That's a vulnerable state in your life, right? That's your vulnerable time period. And so what were you exposed to? That creates the foundation of how you think as an adult. And like you said, there is a lot of self-work sometimes that we have to do to chip away at that, because just because our mom said it or our dad said it doesn't mean it was right. If it doesn't serve you purpose now, you have to get rid of it. And that takes work, that takes effort, that takes time, that takes being patient with yourself. But the benefits are worthwhile, right? Because if you're able to showcase and do your part to create a safe space of intimacy, then you're definitely opening up yourself to being able to receive it.
Yeah. What's crazy is that, like, a lot of times in life, we have, like you saying, like, people have different paths.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We both people that's in this relationship, they have different paths, but that doesn't mean that they can't be together.
Right.
Right? So, in those different paths, what is it that are separate that magnetize to come together into the same focus?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
It could really be, again, back to those foundational beliefs that, so I'm going to speak for us.
Right.
I can only give real life examples, you guys. I can't make anything up.
And these real life examples.
Yes. So, our foundational commonalities are this. There's a desire to be loved genuinely and honestly. There's a desire to be respected. There's a desire to fulfill our God-given purpose. There's a desire to give back to the world, to people, to inspire and motivate. There's a desire to create, right? Things, whatever. So, we have those, and that's not everything, but that's just some things that we share as a foundational piece, right? So using those foundational pieces, we come together, we have conversations about it. Within the conversation, there may be a disagreement as to how to get there, but sometimes it can look like agreeing to disagree, like we spoke about, or sometimes it can look like me saying, you know what, baby, you're right. Or him saying, you know what, baby, you're right. Let's do it this way, right? But that's how we continue to stay on the same path, right?
That's real. It can be tumultuous. It can be a tumultuous situation. But, like you said, you gotta be conscious and aware of those commonalities.
Yeah, I think it's a willingness. You have to have a willingness. Like, do I even want to be on the same page with you?
Yeah.
If I don't want to be on the same page, I'm not going to do the work. And then what does that look like? Destruction.
It's a wrap.
So, the willingness has to be there first and foremost. But then I think, like I said, finding those really key pieces, like what brought you together, what has kept you together this far, and try to highlight those areas.
Yeah. The basis of why a person doesn't want to give into being intimately connected is all of these things that we have studied.
Yeah. And I mean, even like, you know, anxiety disorders.
Anxiety disorders. Like, one thing that I just believe is that it's always spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I'd be like, you know what I mean? But it's always spiritual. Like, the intimacy part is spiritual. It is what our souls have agreed to with God before we got here.
Because we were spirit first.
You know what I mean? Like, so what have our spirits agreed to before we got here? So when you get here, but a lot of times what happens is people, they end up just conforming because they act like they want what the other person want, but they really don't. You know, they act like they want what the other person want because you're on earth and you want to keep that person in your life, but you really don't believe in what they believe in, or you don't really value the things that they value. So the intimacy has to be taken to another level.
And then you find that person finds themselves being passive and not speaking up.
Yeah.
Or disagreeing because they're afraid of an argument, of the person leaving them, fear, rejection, abandonment, all of that.
And the thing is, if you're fearing that, it's a wrap anyway. To me,
yeah.
Like, if you fearing the person that you're with, if you're fearing whatever you say to them is gonna might end the relationship. The way you feel might end the relationship. Guess what? If you're really feeling that way to where that you don't communicate to them what you're scared of or whatever, like, you might want to take another step back. You might want to take 2 steps back instead of 2 steps forward.
Yeah, because guess what? That means that there is no trust from you to that person.
Correct.
So if you don't have trust in a relationship, what do you have?
You got 0.
If I can't trust you enough to say, baby, you know what? I'm feeling really down today. You know, I'm missing my mom, whatever. If I can't trust you enough to say that, I don't need you.
Yeah.
You know, because there's oftentimes that I feel that way. And so if I have to suppress that part of it, in addition to me being sad, in addition to me feeling lonely, in addition to what other emotions I'm feeling, that's just adding more stress on me than helping to relieve it. And so I don't need you. Then I'll have to let me just end this, do some self-work, and wait till God brings me the person who's supposed to be in my life.
Correct.
Don't settle. You can't settle because you miss out on a lot of things, namely intimacy.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, feeling that you can speak to that person is one thing. Now, what if they have done things that has challenged the intimacy?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? So it ain't just that, I don't trust you to say this. But you trusted them before, but they done did some stuff to make you not trust them. So,
Yep. That was another fear. Remember, that was that fear of the fear of rejection as well, right? So you gave them an opportunity, but they misused that opportunity. But now what do though?
You go to somebody else.
But do you talk to that person and let them know what happened from your perspective in hopes that they understand and you can mend it? Or do you go to somebody else and just not talk about it?
I believe if you feel like that relationship is valued and they just,
miss the mark.
Like, you know who that person, because like it's so deep.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of times you have to have lists. You have to measure things out, like the good versus the bad. Like, is this situation this bad to go against the good?
Yeah.
But then guess what though? How many times you gotta keep doing it?
Well, but this is what I think. So yes, both of those points are very valid, right? So I'm gonna speak for me. I know when we've gotten into arguments where I felt like they were just really huge, I had to bring myself to a place to evaluate our relationship up until that point. Okay, like you said, the pros and cons list. Do he make me feel happy more times than he make me feel sad? Do I feel supported more times than I feel not supported? You know, you just go through this list. And if your pro side is far longer or outweigh the cons, then it's like, okay, let me take ego out of it and let me have a discussion. Let me share how I feel, you know, and let's meet in the middle. But that's how we can operate, because we've reached these stages of intimacy. So there are no walls that are built up. There have been times that, you know, we didn't have this type of intimacy, but we worked to it. And so speaking current day, I can evaluate and say, you know what, he's giving me more positive than negative. So let me go back. The relationship is of value. He is of value to me. Let me go back and let's try to work together and figure it out. Instead of just saying, you know what, forget it. I'm not talking to him. Let me go over here and see who's over here. Like, that's not where I am.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. That's not where we are. But like you mentioned, somebody going over here, that's where they are, because they've given a person chance after chance after chance, and they keep misusing it. I'm not going to keep going back trying to do something and it's not giving me, you know, benefits or results.
That's heavy. Like what you just said, heavy. Say that again.
I'm not going to keep going back to a person multiple times trying to get them to handle me correctly or show me intimacy, and I keep getting rejected. I'm not going to keep doing that. So now
you heard
it. Me being the mature person that I am, before I go over here, I'm going to let you know what, this isn't working for me and this is why. No hard feelings, but I'm into you. And then I'm going to go and do whatever I want to do. Because if I'm not getting benefits from my relationship, what am I in it for? If you're not getting benefits in your relationship, what are you in it for? Your relationship should help you grow and continue to develop as a human being.
Yes.
If you're not learning and being able to grow within or from your relationship, you do need to reevaluate.
Now, I can say one thing, man, like, we definitely grow from each other.
Yes.
Like,
every day, you guys.
Look at this year. Like, wow. Like as far as when we agreed to go, like, baby, like, we want to help people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what can we do? You know, like, we can make money off of it, you know what I'm saying? But mostly, like, what's our purpose? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What have we been through? This what really set out. It was like, we was talking about what you had, what you've been through, right? Mm-hmm. You know, with the different grievances through your life.
Right.
And I have my own things that happen to me in my life. Like, baby. And then we take into accountability the gifts and the things that we have naturally within each other. Mm-hmm. And we came to agreement. And here we are.
Right.
And so, you know, the agreement, like, you don't always, like, the agreement is powerful.
The agreement.
So, yeah, we need it.
We need to explore it right now, because I feel it. Agreement. God says when 2 or 3 or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. That's what he said. When 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. You highlighted the word agreement. When 2 or more are gathered in my name, you come together in an agreement in his name. Through words or actions, there I am in the midst. That's why this podcast is reaching and will continue to reach so many people, singles, couples, widowers, divorcees, whomever, because he is here in the midst. Agreement is key. Not only are we in agreement with God, but we're in agreement with one another. Therefore, our power is ignited in that agreement. That's why we can speak so boldly and so confidently about the things of God, because he's here. And I feel his spirit right now.
Yeah.
And that's why when you said agreement, it was like a fire was lit. Because that is absolutely what God wants us to do. He wants us to come into agreement with him, and then come into agreement with the people that he's aligned us with, that are in our close circle, that we can have the intimacy with, that we can be vulnerable with. Come into agreement and move on the same page according to what his word says. That's where you find power. That's where you realize that you're now walking in your purpose. You can feel when you walk in your purpose. You can feel that. You can feel in your spirit when you're saying something to somebody you're supposed to say, that he's told you what to say. You can feel when you're having actions that he's anointed for you to have. You can feel these things, but you have to go have that spiritual intimacy first. We have it. I have it individually. He has it individually. And we have it as a couple. We as a couple are anointed. It's not just about, us looking good on camera, which we do. It's not about that whatsoever. It's not about us being able to go on date night. Our purpose is so huge. And to your point of saying, staying in prayer, me sharing that you continue to cover us spiritually, these things has to take place because of our anointing, because of our purpose. Agreement is key. So yes, we talked about being able to agree to disagree. That in itself is also an agreement. The agreement doesn't always look like, you know what, baby, let me take your side, or you saying, let me take your side. It says, you know what, I acknowledge your opinion. I don't have the same one because of my life experiences, and move forward. However, it's still an agreement. Us saying I do is an agreement. That's an agreement that we make before God. That's why me personally, marriage is so very important. I don't take it lightly. I never have. I don't have an experience of stepping outside of my marriage. I take those things very seriously. I honor my vows. I honor my spouse. And yes, I've been married before. For the ones of you who are just encountering our channel, but my husband tragically passed away, and God blessed me to be in a new relationship with another man who loves me wholeheartedly. And so I'm not going to do anything different in this marriage. My vows, before I stand before God right now and say I do, I take my relationship very seriously. Because just like I said, the agreement that we have, when we said, you know what, we want to be exclusive. There's nobody else. We want to work on us. We want to build a life together. When we said that, yes, we gain power.
Yes.
When we continue to show up for one another every day, when we continue to work through any type of obstacles that come our way, when we continue to be intentional in blending our family, when we continue to be intentional about the topics that we provide to our supporters, we're in agreement with God.
Yes.
We're in agreement.
Yes, baby.
So, I just had to say that because
just caught the Holy Spirit.
He put that on me to say so strongly. And, don't be so quick, you guys, to walk away from that God-ordained agreement that you made. Yes, we know there are situations that arises that seems like, you know what, I need to walk away from this, right? But make sure in all things that you're seeking God and his guidance and his wisdom, because it may be something that he's presenting to you so that you can grow to be the person that he's called you to be. I often say that things do not happen to us, things happen for us. He allows us wisdom and insight to be able to sometimes look back and understand why I had to go through this thing, because it's going to help me to get to where I am now, right? So don't be so quick to just throw in the towel and just be done altogether. You made a God-given, God-anointed, God-approved agreement, right? Do the work that you need to do to get back to that place. So divorce is not an option for us at all. Once we say I do, that's it. He's done. He's going to say I do and he's done.
I want to be.
So just make sure you guys just seek God in everything. No matter what. Seek him in everything, Sometimes we make decisions that we shouldn't make because, like I said before, it was a God-ordained situation. When you're a believer in God, everything that you experience has to be approved by him first. He's not going to let anything happen for you that is not a part of your destiny. And that's what the scripture says in Jeremiah 29:11 when he speaks about, he knows the plans that he has for you and it's not to cause harm. Like, he's not going to let anything harm us. And now, don't get me wrong, there are things that we encounter in life, situations that are very hurtful, very painful, very traumatic. But through it all, he already knows he's going to bring you out if you come into agreement with him, right? And so coming into agreement with him means getting up and fighting every day. Spiritually, going to him in prayer. Making sure you are reading his word, right? Making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who genuinely care for you and have your best interests at heart. Making sure that you are speaking positive self-affirmations, like you pouring back into yourself. Whether you believe it at the time or not, use those words. Speak opposite of what your brain is trying to tell you, right? If your brain is trying to tell you your situation is never going to change, you will be depressed. No, you speak and say, I am alive. I am healthy. Whatever it is, right? I am an overcomer. And eventually you keep doing that, you will be there.
Yes.
So things happen for us, and I can speak more about grief trauma than anything else. Obviously, when I lost my close loved one, I thought that was it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't go on. That's it. I'm done. Obviously, that wasn't the case, right? I just purposed in my heart and in my mind that I wasn't going to let depression, anxiety, or anything else overcome me. And there were moments where I literally didn't have the energy to say a prayer. Like, I couldn't form the words to speak them out of my mouth. Wow. But guess what's great about God? He's not a human being. He don't need words. He's a spirit. So the Bible speaks about the Holy Spirit praying for us. I know for a fact the Holy Spirit prays for us because I felt it in my spirit. The Holy Spirit went to the Son to go to the Father on my behalf. And I'm not so unique in God's eyes that he's not going to do the same thing for you. So yes, I know this is a relationship podcast, but when we start talking about God, it takes over. And we allow the Holy Spirit to come in and do whatever he wants to do.
That's right. We have a lot of experience with the Holy Spirit. You have a lot of experience with grief. And, I appreciate that because I've learned a lot from you dealing with because I feel like the things I've dealt with in life compared to you are minuscule. Yeah, they're not.
Right.
They're a part of my journey.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the outlook that you have because it has encouraged me, and I know it has encouraged others in us doing this podcast, doing your other podcast.
Right.
You're spreading that message, and it can be felt through your spirit.
And I feel the same way. And just not to harp so much on the word agreement, but our experiences had come into agreement with one another. So God knew that what I had to offer through my experiences could help you and progress you. He knew that what you had to offer from things you've gone through could progress me. So we both have grown and continue to grow just from one another. We've often said that being in the relationship is like holding a mirror up. Like when I talk to you or look at you, listen to you, it's almost like I'm holding up a mirror and looking at myself, right? Because we're so intertwined at this point because our agreement is so strong. Our bond is so strong. And, it is where your relationship should be that way. It should be that way. That agreement should be felt and should be so strong that it is enough to keep you together and to help you progress further. So yes, you've always talked about the things that you've learned from me, but I definitely have learned a lot from you as well in a lot of different ways. So, agreement is key. Now, the other side of that is you made the agreement with the person, but you didn't make it with God. Now, when you and another person make this agreement and God is not in it, child, end it. It looks like you need to end it. End it. Because it has to be tumultuous. It has to be traumatic. It has to be toxic. if God is not in it. We can go out here all day and pick somebody just because, oh, she looked good, or oh my, he's handsome. But you didn't say, God, is this the person I'm supposed to be with?
Yeah, you gotta ask.
You didn't say that. When I remember, and I've shared this before on our first season, I remember when I lost my husband of almost 18 years. We were high school sweethearts, very close marriage, very positive marriage. So it wasn't one that I was seeking to get out of, right? That was due to, God's appointed will in his time. But I remember just casually saying, God, I am so familiar with being loved by another person and learning and loving another person that I know this isn't the end for me. I know that you have someone else out there for me in your time and your way. And I just said that out loud. I wasn't trying to seek anything at that time. I wasn't looking for anybody at that time. I remember just saying that. And he honored that. I came into agreement with him in that moment that he would bring love back into my life whenever he chose to do it, however he chose to do it, and with whoever the person was that he chose. And it happened. You have to be in agreement with God. And whatever God says no to, take that as a yes. If he says, no, you're not supposed to be with this person, please pack your stuff up and run. Because it ain't going to work out.
What does that look like?
It's not going to work. Like, he'll show you signs when, all over social media, you see these posts about red flags, red flags. Really, that's the Holy Spirit giving you an inclination that this person isn't for you. And guess what? Sometimes they might just not be for you right now. You and I spoke on season 1 about us having to take a period of separation because we wasn't right for each other at that time, right? Yeah. There was more self-work we both needed to do.
Felt crazy. Like it's going to be yo,
yeah.
It's over.
In the moment, we was like, you know what? It's done, whatever. Let me move on with my life. But the agreement we had previously made, we didn't realize the power in it at the time. We didn't realize it was God ordained. And that he did have to allow separation for a period so we could do work, seek him, because me and you both started to seek him even more than we ever had in our life. Yeah. And so we were open, vulnerable, came in agreement. We separate ourselves out of the initial agreement we made as human beings, move more into the agreement we made with God. He knew what you had asked him for. He knew what I had previously asked him for. And he allowed it to come back together.
You definitely showed me the science in that, the godly science in that whole situation.
Yeah.
Like you said, I never saw that coming.
Yeah.
But it happened.
It had to. Or we wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah.
It had to. And again, we can speak about it so positively now looking back. But of course, when we were in the middle of it, we were both hurt, we were both mad, we were both frustrated, and it was not a pleasant situation at all. But, we moved past that for years now. We're engaged, we'll be getting married in a few months, and, working on a lot of things together. We operate as one, and so we can look back and share that experience with you guys, which is probably the reason why he had us go through it. He knows everything. He knew we would be sitting here talking to our Patreon, talking to our AEA supporters. He knew that. Talking to the world via YouTube.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then, like I say, even in making our episodes, we've gone through stuff. We had to pause.
Yeah.
And hey, hold up. Well,
yeah, we paused.
And just all around godly spiritual experience. And like you said, when he says it's for you or us, then you gotta recognize it and you gotta protect that, right?
Yeah.
Because people, they don't protect. That's another thing. You have to protect your intimacy.
Yeah.
Has to be protected.
Yeah.
With God, with person, has to be protected.
Absolutely.
Because there's, unfortunately, there's instances that there's forces and spirits that are trying to come in between. They want that. They want to destroy it for whatever reason.
And you spoke about, I'm laughing, you spoke about the situation that, we just had not so long ago about we did have to pause the recording, and hash out some things, But the thing about it is, and I often laugh about the enemy, I'm like, he really just needs to stop. Because like we don't have ego in our relationship. So it's like we have the intimacy pieces that we, share with you guys. So we'll talk and then we're done. Like it's done. So it's not anything that he can do that will be catastrophic to us enough to where we never get back on the same page, or where we just say, you know what, it's over, it's done. Like, stop. He tries, but stop. Like, seriously.
He go hard. He go hard, especially as, serving our, walking in our purpose.
Yeah.
He go hard. He go extra hard.
Absolutely. He don't like it. So, as we continue to talk about intimacy, we'll wrap up, you guys, just talking about the different risk factors, like we spoke to some of those things, but, it can be emotional neglect, like you've never truly had that before or felt comfortable enough to have that with a family member or with a significant other. One that surprised me to a certain degree, or it surprised me that it would be on the list, is loss of a parent. But I can definitely identify with that. Losing my mom, who was so very close to me, there is a difference in how quickly I can shut down emotionally now. Like, and I mean, like it's an on-off switch. Like once something makes me feel like I'm going to be hurt, the off switch hits, and I don't feel nothing. And
It's true.
That's definitely something that was triggered through losing my mom that I didn't even realize. It even lists here, of course, things like neglect, situations of different types of abuse, and that's understandable. But what we would do is just challenge any of you who has experienced these types of things is to seek help, seek counsel. God first. We're advocates of therapy, so if that's something that you're interested in, certainly seek the counsel of a professional licensed therapist who has trainings in that type of field. Spiritual based, right, if that's what you choose to do. And then, a clergyman, if you feel comfortable and close to your clergy, something like that. But definitely seek the help that can get you to a place of giving intimacy so that you can be open enough to receive it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Pray, pray, pray.
Absolutely. So, you guys, this is our first part of our 4-part series on intimacy. And again, at the top of the episode, we said that you probably felt like we were going to be talking about sexual. Not this episode. Because before you get to sexual, you need to have mastered these other areas. And when you have mastered these other areas and when you get to the sexual,
it's going to be another level.
But we will talk about that next week in our second part. Part 2 will be about sexual intimacy, and even with that particular, even with that topic, we're going to be exploring, like, what does that look like? What factors are included in that? How does that show up? How does it show up in our relationship? Things like that. But it was a great conversation today, I feel like. How do you feel, baby?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Great conversation. Very, I learned today. We had an experience. It was an adventure.
Yeah.
And, just every experience, I feel a stronger connection to God, and our intimacy is separate from His intimacy.
Right.
But it's separate, but it's the same.
Intertwined.
It's intertwined. So, that's one thing, is that all of your intimate relationships that you have, they're separate, but they're connected.
Yeah.
So you gotta protect all of your connections.
Absolutely.
Because you're the main connection.
That's right. I completely agree.
Yeah.
So you guys, we need you to do a few things. First of all, you're here on YouTube, so you're watching us. Have you hit the subscribe button?
Like button.
Baby, if they're watching and not subscribed, what are they really doing? Like, you're going to miss out on all kind of stuff.
You're going to miss out. You're going to miss out what you're looking at.
So we need for you to subscribe. We need for you to share this episode with others. We definitely want you to turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss any episodes. Not only do we have podcast episodes, but we have some vlog episodes that we do too. We have some date nights, different things, family experiences that we share with our YouTube family as well. Make sure you have subscribed, shared, hit your post notifications, okay? So that's one thing. Secondly, we need you to join our Patreon family. So there are 3 different levels. We have a bronze level, silver, and gold VIP level, okay?
VIP.
3 different levels. And each level provides a different type of exclusivity. So all of the Patreon get uncut, unedited episodes, podcast episodes. So when we have to pause for a moment, when we have to, do whatever, we don't cut out these cameras. They get it all. They will see everything behind the scenes. And then with our silver level, then there's an additional, some additional topics that we will disclose. We'll make the videos, but they will only be posted on Patreon. And those are our After Dark, so our more adult-only content, right? The VIP, you guys will get all of that, plus live Q&A. So we'll go live in there and you can actually talk to us, ask us questions about anything, episodes about who we are. Give you an opportunity to also speak to topics that maybe you want us to discuss, whatever, right? But in addition to that, our wedding is in 4 months. And so we're going to live stream
Soon.
only to our Gold VIP members in Patreon. We're going to live stream our wedding ceremony. You'll be there from the beginning of the ceremony to the end. So you'll get to see his reaction when he sees me walk down the aisle. You'll get to see us say I do. You'll get to be to experience all of that. You'll be our VIP member via live stream. So that is the Gold VIP package. So make sure you click on the link in the description of this video so that you can go and join our Patreon family. Okay. Lastly, we have all of our social medias included in the description as well. Go and follow us everywhere. We're literally on every platform.
Yeah, we have
so much.
So much. We got family members that have their own platform. So, go check us out. We really love to have your feedback, and we love to meet you any way that we can. And,
absolutely.
This beautiful lady right here. She I think I take my hat off to her. She runs it. So
I try, you guys.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome. We both show up and do our part. So with that being said, we are thanking you so much for joining us for our first episode for season 2. Crazy that we already on season 2.
Welcome back. Back.
Comment if you know where that theme song comes from. But yes, welcome back to our supporters from last season. Welcome to our new supporters. And with that being said, we hope you guys have a great day.